What really happens if you win a huge lottery and tell nobody? Have you ever imagined what you would do if your life changed in a single second? Not in a slow, predictable way. Not through years of saving, working, or building something step by step. I mean instantly. One moment, you are just another person buying coffee, checking your bank balance, worrying about bills, thinking about next week. And the next moment, you are holding a lottery ticket worth $100 million. At first, it wouldn't feel real. You would probably check the numbers once, then again, because your brain would refuse to accept what your eyes are seeing. Your hands would shake. Your breathing would change. The world around you would still look exactly the same, but inside, nothing would be the same anymore. And here is the part nobody talks about enough. The first major decision would not be what car to buy, what house to move into, or whether to quit your job. The first decision would be, who do you tell? Because the second this information leaves your mouth, your life is no longer fully yours. Once other people know, the win becomes public in ways you cannot control. Family members may react differently. Friends may start looking at you through a new lens. Coworkers may treat you with curiosity, envy, or expectation. Even people you barely know may suddenly feel entitled to a piece of your luck. That is why many people imagine that if they ever won a massive jackpot, they would keep quiet. They would say nothing.
In theory, silence sounds smart. It sounds safe. It sounds like the perfect move. And financially, it often is. But emotional, that silence comes with a price. The fantasy version of winning the lottery is simple. You get rich and your problems disappear. The real version is much more complicated. Before you spend a single dollar, you have to think about protection. Not celebration, not luxury, protection. A jackpot number on the billboard is not the number that lands in your life. Taxes can remove a massive percentage. Fees, bad decisions, pressure, and reckless generosity can take even more. That giant prize can shrink much faster than people expect. So if you were smart, your first moves would be boring. You would slow down. You would avoid sudden announcements. You would speak to professionals. You would learn how the payout works. You would figure out whether a lump sum makes more sense than long-term payments.
You would build legal and financial layers between yourself and the money. And that sounds cold, but it is necessary. Because lottery money is dangerous when it arrives faster than your ability to manage it. A person can go from normal life to financial overload overnight. And if you don't create structure immediately, chaos will step in and create it for you. That is why staying quiet feels powerful. Silence buys time. Time lets you think. Time keeps panic from turning into permanent mistakes. When no one knows, no one is rushing you. No one is asking for loans. No one is pitching business ideas. No one is saying you've changed just because you decided to be careful. So you keep your head down. You act normal. Maybe too normal. You still answer emails. You still show up where people expect you. You still wear the same clothes, drive the same car, make the same small talk. From the outside, nothing has changed. But in the background, everything is changing. Accounts are being opened. Plans are being made. Risks are being measured. The new mission is no longer becoming rich. It is staying rich. And for a while, silence feels like the smartest decision you have ever made. This is where the emotional tension begins. Because once you decide not to tell anyone, you are no longer just protecting money. Imagine sitting at dinner while people around you complain about rent, salaries, inflation, and retirement. You understand their stress because it used to be yours. But now you are living with a secret that makes you both deeply connected to them and strangely separate from them. That is the hard part, not the money itself, the distance. When you hide something this big, ordinary conversations start to feel staged. You edit yourself constantly. You think before every answer. You become careful in ways you never had to before. Why do you seem distracted? Why are you suddenly interested in legal paperwork? Why are you taking random calls?
Why do you look nervous when someone jokes about lottery winners? Even joy becomes something you have to hide. And once that pattern begins, it spreads. Maybe you tell yourself it is only temporary. Maybe you say, I just need a few weeks to get organized. Then the weeks turn into months. The silence hardens. The truth becomes harder to explain the longer you hold it. Because now the story is no longer just, I won. Now the story is, I won and I have been hiding it from you. Those are two different confessions, and the second one hurts more. Let's be honest, money absolutely solves many problems. It can eliminate debt, it can buy time, it can create security, it can give you access to better healthcare, better housing, better opportunities, and a future that no longer feels fragile. It can protect your family for generations if handled well. But money does not remove human complexity. It amplifies it. A huge lottery win exposes your values very quickly. Are you generous or impulsive? Private or performative? Strategic or emotional? Patient or reckless? The money simply turns those traits up at full volume. And this is why so many people get trapped after a windfall. They assume the challenge is spending wisely, but that is only part of it. The deeper challenge is emotional discipline. Can you say no when people expect yes? Can you resist proving that you made it? Can you live below your means when you no longer have to? Can you invest for the future instead of performing wealth in the present? If you can, the jackpot can become stability, freedom, and long-term peace. If you can't, it can become a very expensive disaster. But even if you do everything right financially, one issue remains. Secrecy changes your relationships. When people do not know, you protect yourself from being used, but you also prevent yourself from being fully known. That trade-off is the heart of this entire story. You gain control, you lose openness. You gain privacy, you lose spontaneity. You gain protection, you lose the ease of telling the truth without calculating the consequences. That is not a tax you see on paper, but it is a real cost. So what is the real lesson here? It is not that winning a huge lottery is bad. Of course, most people would still want the money. And it is not that secrecy is always wrong. In many cases, keeping quiet at first is probably the smartest move you can make. The real lesson is that people usually think the challenge of sudden wealth is financial, when in reality, it is also psychological and relational. The jackpot changes your bank account in one day, but it changes your sense of self much more slowly. You start asking questions you never had to ask before. Who can I trust? How much of myself do I reveal? If people knew, would they still treat me the same? If I keep hiding it, am I protecting my peace or damaging my closest relationships? And maybe that is the part most fantasies leave out. Because in the fantasy, wealth feels loud. It feels glamorous. It feels visible. But in real life, a person trying to preserve that wealth may become quieter than ever, more cautious, more isolated, more edited. The irony is powerful. You can have total financial freedom and still feel trapped by the one truth you are afraid to share. So if you ever imagine what it would be like to win an enormous lottery and tell no one, remember this. The money might secure your future, but the silence will shape your life just as much. That secret may protect your fortune. It may also slowly rewrite your relationships. And that is the real story. Not just what money can buy, but what hiding it can cost. If you enjoyed this video, think about this question. If your entire life changed overnight, would you protect your peace by staying silent? Or would the silence eventually become heavier than the prize itself? Because for most people, the most difficult part of a life-changing win would not be receiving the money. It would be deciding what version of the truth they can still live with. For more amazing content, hidden wealth secrets, and wealth tips, please subscribe to our channel. And also, in the comments section,
Answer what will you do if you found a huge lottery prize.